There are no traffic lights in Spring Lake, so take care when crossing the streets.
Hi, my name is Jim, and I'll be your tour guide. With a little gentle prodding, and in some cases some arm twisting, I got your innkeeper to say a few words.
Hi, my name is Nancy. Dennis and I welcome you to the Ocean House, a hotel bed and breakfast. The Historical Society documents this cottage boarding house from its inception in 1877. The original frame Victorian building, now with 31 rooms and common areas, faced Sussex Avenue. The Taylors purchased the hotel in 1928 and added 5 more bedrooms and the stucco facade. The Sussex Avenue entrance leads to the recently redecorated lobby, parlor, and library. You may note the oil portraits, canvas over planked wood, are early members of my family, the Tate Baldwins. Look up and notice the original curved plaster moldings and the recently redone original pine floors. Above, please take note of the Venetian glass chandelier dating to the beginning of the 20th century. It is here in the lobby you will find the historic staircase, transported in 1873 to Spring Lake from the Philadelphia Exposition. Another portion of the staircase is in the Smithsonian. Please take a moment to view the stained glass in the dining room, purchased from the Gloria Swanson estate in Englewood, New Jersey, known as Gloria Crest. Also, the dining tables, each one different and hand-painted by Dennis Galustian. Please enjoy the rest of your tour.
The tour itself consists of about a 45-minute loop through Spring Lake, so I'll guide you to that loop where narrators will take over and discuss the town's features and history. Then I'll come on again to direct you back here. Now you are ready to start, so head toward the front door and listen carefully to the directions I'll give you. Now proceed out the front door, down the steps, and go the 20 or so feet until the walkway hits the road. Take a left and walk the 2 blocks straight down the Sussex Avenue sidewalk that will end at Ocean Avenue. You will have to cross First Avenue and continue straight 1 more block to the end. Now hit the red stop button until you get to the end of the sidewalk at Ocean Avenue. Then don't forget to hit the green start button. Now take a right crossing Sussex Avenue and walk down Ocean Avenue about 200 feet until you are directly in front of the entrance to the Essex and Sussex Hotel. Hit the red stop button until you get there, then hit the green start button to join the loop tour.
You should now be standing right in front of the Essex and Sussex Hotel, the one and only remaining grand hotel structure from the opulent, glamorous era of 100 years ago. Just stay here and listen to the rest of the story. Where you are standing was the heart of the hotel district that also included the exquisite Monmouth House, the Allaire Hotel, and the Spring Lake Hotel, which hosted the well-to-do and famous from New York and Philadelphia during the summer season that always ended right on Labor Day. People would come on the train with their huge steamer trunks and be shuttled from the depot to the hotel by carriage to stay and enjoy the amenities and beautiful shoreline. Times have changed, and airplanes have made other travel destinations more accessible. But there was a period in time when this area was a mecca for vacationing socialites of the eastern U.S. In 1840, this entire block was part of the Osborne Farm, and in 1875, it was bought by the Spring Lake Beach Improvement Company and partitioned into blocks and building lots for cottages. In 1880, this particular block was owned by Anna Baird and called Hastings Square. Many beach homes were built on it, and in 1891 it was sold to Susan Urey for $80,000. But on the fateful night of September 19, 1900, a disastrous fire that began in a laundry spread to 2 Urey beach houses, then burned down a large section of the town, including the magnificent Monmouth House, which was a huge hotel that took up the entire block to the left of this one. In 1913, construction began on the Essex and Sussex, you see here, by the Hastings Square Company, and on July 14, 1914, this 5-story, $500,000 hotel opened with a 400-guest capacity. The beautiful columned porch, which used to extend farther on each side, was a centerpiece, and guests entering in bathing suits were required to use another door. In 1929, the north wing that runs along Sussex Avenue was added and contained 75 more guest rooms. An early brochure boasted that bathrooms are equipped with hot and cold running seawater. In 1970, the Shook family owned the hotel and sold it to the E&S Hotel Corporation, who in turn sold it in 1976 to Charles and Terry Carroll for $875,000. It operated until 1985, the last season it was economically viable. You can now start walking in the same direction you are heading and take a right on Essex Avenue, which is the first street past the hotel. Parts of the movie Ragtime were filmed here, as the hotel was the best example of what 1906 Atlantic City looked like, and it was commutable to New York for the film crew. In 1985, the hotel was bought by Andrew Bufumu, who spent 4 years and millions of dollars to refurbish it for condominiums. But the bank foreclosed, and now it is owned by the Applied Companies, who plan to turn it into luxury senior housing. Don't forget to turn right on Essex Avenue. At the time this tape was recorded, the hotel is empty, with no apparent activity except for the pigeons. It is a far cry from the glory days, when it had 1,769 tungsten lamps, served honeycombed tribala Creole for lunch, and had such daily events as ballet, opera, horse shows, and concert pianists. As you continue walking up Essex Avenue toward the lake, you'll see the homes on your left that replaced the once Grand Monmouth House, which took up the whole block. It was built in 1875, almost 40 years before the Essex and Sussex Hotel, and destroyed in the 1900 fire. It was rebuilt even grander in 1904 as the Monmouth Hotel, with 275 rooms, and was owned by the Frederick Dugan family. It stretched from the lake to the ocean on 7.2 acres, and sadly met the Wreckers' Ball in 1975 to make way for the homes you now see. The first house built on the Lone Block was nicknamed Little House on the Prairie, and its fireplace contains part of the original cornerstone of the hotel. Please stop here and listen to the poem written by longtime resident Elaine Erb. It will take you back to the era when the grand hotels were thriving. The winds that waft Spring Lake's south shore whisper an old story of an era seen no more of elegance and glory. Perhaps sometime, if you permit, listen hard and well, close your eyes and dream a bit, and fall beneath its spell. Between the lake and ocean, she sat serene and grand, to view swans in slow motion or scan the sea and sand. Lush grounds and fountains served to greet, as did the handsome dome, all the blue bloods and elite to their summer home. The lobby, richly furnished with the latest in antiques, weighty tables burnished, oriental carpets chic. Another fountain graced its midst, with wishing well of wonder. A spiral staircase rose and twist clear up to the rotunda. The ballroom and the dining hall saw who's who in royalty, and those who had the wherewithal returned each year with loyalty. No television in the rooms, just breeze to air condition, but every suite had fresh-cut blooms and service most patrician. On Sundays, sumptuous buffets, high sculptures in variety, enticed fastidious gourmets and fattened high society. Hawaiian, German, Irish nights, card parties, fashion shows, St. Catherine's Ball by candlelight drew crowds in fancy clothes. Catherine Stafford's Wednesday nights were lessons in deportment. To share in prepubescent rites, there was a wide assortment of grimy, brawling little boys, each with a giggling lass, transformed to bowing Fauntleroys and white-gloved girls of class. But bandsmen laid down their batons, the dowagers all died. The white-gloved girls grew up, moved on, ice carvings liquefied. The world moved faster on jet planes and set aside traditions, replaced by Howard Johnson chains and plastic acquisitions. Linger for a moment more in this state of deja vu, as the Alhambra of the Jersey Shore bids a sad adieu. Goodbye to those who called her home, farewell, Godspeed to all, as the Monmouth's great red dome falls to the Wreckers' Ball. The ghosts of grandeur still remain, haunting Monmouthshire. Wistfully they sip champagne in gems and fine attire, in memory of more gracious days, now faded into time, to toast in a nostalgic haze the Monmouth in its prime. Continue to walk ahead on Essex Avenue in the same direction you were heading. On your right, you can see the north wing addition to the Essex and Sussex Hotel, and 1 block down First Avenue to the right is the beautiful pink Ocean House. Now you can continue up Essex Avenue and cross the streets to take you to the sidewalk right next to the lake. You can hit the red stop button if you are not at Lakeside, and hit the green start button when you get there. You should now be standing on the sidewalk facing Spring Lake. To your right, about 25 yards away, is a bench that you may want to walk to and sit on while you listen to this next section of the tour that describes the beautiful church across the lake. St. Catherine's, not large in size, but great in its wealth of architectural beauty and religious art, had its foundation laid March 17, 1901, took 6 years to erect, and is in the shape of a Greek cross. It is built from granite, limestone, marble, and brick, and is considered the finest example of classical revival architecture in Monmouth County. The entrepreneur, philanthropist, and summer resident, Martin Maloney, was inspired to build the beautiful church in memory of his daughter Catherine. She died tragically at age 17 from tuberculosis while returning on a voyage from Europe, where doctors thought she would convalesce. Maloney continued to commission works of Christian art for the church for the next 27 years, and visitors to its interior are welcome. He, his wife, and daughter are entombed in the church crypt. If you would like to sit and enjoy the view, just hit the red stop button, then hit the green start button when you are ready to proceed. To get a better view of the church, you can now get up and continue walking on the sidewalk in the same direction you were going, towards the wooden bridge that crosses the lake, and continue to listen to the tape. If you look closely at the church, you can see that the exterior columns and pilasters support a central pediment with a gilded cross over the main entry, which is set atop a piazza overlooking Spring Lake. The 92-foot-high ribbed copper dome rises from its octagonal drum and is accentuated by decorative urns. It is surmounted by an 8-sided lantern with arch-headed windows. Above the domed lantern is a gilded cross atop a globe which gives the church its distinctive outline. The copper roof and dome were completely refurbished in 1945. The design of the church is said to be inspired by the Church of Santa Maria del Popolo in Rome. The interior walls have marble columns and painted surfaces, and there are about 18 stained glass windows. Notice to your right, across the street, the many beautiful homes. This location was a choice spot for building, as it was between the ocean and the lake, two of the main attractions of the town. You should continue walking to the granite memorial a few hundred yards ahead. It's between the sidewalk and the wooden bridge. You can hit the red stop button until you get there, then hit the green start button when you reach it. You should be at the granite memorial between the sidewalk and the wooden bridge. It was erected by the town to honor the volunteer firemen who had served Spring Lake, and there are several other memorials around this park to honor those who have served the town or their country. You can now walk out to the middle of the Cedar Bridge, stop there before the high section of rail, face to the left, and listen and enjoy some of the early history of Spring Lake. This land was originally inhabited by the Lenni Lenape Indians. They were gentle, spiritual, had a reverence for nature, and their name meant common, ordinary people. They had no concept of land ownership, and their wigwams and longhouses were considered temporary covers from the elements, not like ours that are permanent air-conditioned and designed to isolate us from any hint of the elements, and even our neighbors at times. Don't forget to stop in the middle of the bridge to listen. They called New Jersey Shayapki, which meant long land water, and they called this area Lenapehoking, which meant land of the Lenape. They came to the shore in the summer to enjoy the bounty of the sea, including oysters, clams, and crabs. The Europeans eventually overwhelmed the Lenape, and they retreated to reservations. The last of any Native American claim to this area dates to 1858. The present-day town is a conglomerate of 4 older shore developments, which were called Villa Park, Spring Lake Beach, Brighton and North Brighton, and Como. These developments closely matched the boundaries of 7 farms that formerly occupied the space. Each area built or planned a hotel as a centerpiece. Spring Lake Beach had the Monmouth House on the Osborne Farm. The Brightons had Wilburton by the Sea, which became the Breakers Hotel you can see today on Ocean Avenue. Villa Park had the Villa Park House near Wreck Pond, and Como's proposed hotel never became more than a private residence. Now here, in a nutshell, is how the 4 areas ended up as one place. Don't worry, this won't be on the final exam. In 1875, the Spring Lake Beach Improvement Company was founded to develop the Spring Lake Beach area, and it built the magnificent Monmouth House as well as other hotels. It became the center of hotel activity and incorporated in 1892 as Spring Lake Borough. Villa Park started as 2 areas in 1875, merged into one in 1888, and in 1892 became part of the Spring Lake Borough. In May 1884, Brighton, North Brighton, and the Ludlow Farm were incorporated as North Spring Lake, and in 1899 Como was annexed to them by an act of the legislature. In 1903, North Spring Lake merged with Spring Lake Borough for economic reasons. This gave us one town with the modern borders that now exist. The Beach Improvement Company dedicated the land around this 16-acre lake as a park, which was named Devine Park after the first town superintendent. They planted trees, made paths, and in 1878 constructed the first bridge over the lake. The center section of that bridge was raised about 6 feet higher than it is now to let an ice wagon and horse travel under it. The ice collected from the frozen water was put in ice houses scattered around the shores of the lake, and residents could buy it, as an old ordinance states, for 20 cents a wagon load. About 1902, this second cedar bridge, where you now stand, was built for foot traffic. The lake attracts Canada geese, mallard ducks, and ring-billed gulls, which have a conspicuous black ring on their bills, and who like to sit on the posts of these bridges. Also seen here are mute swans, which hold their necks in an S shape when swimming, and whose wing beats make a singing sound. Their ancestors were donated to the town in 1913, and each spring the new families can be seen swimming on the lake. They are a favorite of small children. It is said the mute swan never uses its voice in captivity. Also, New Jersey's largest wading bird, the great blue heron, can often be seen standing and stalking fish in the shallows of the lake. When the Monmouth Hotel was here, many guests could be seen boating on the lake, and from here you could see processions from St. Catherine's Church to the hotel, down Monmouth Avenue around the south shore of the lake. The lake continues to be a place to relax and is a wonderful centerpiece of the town. The memorial at the end of the bridge is for the volunteers who served the town's first aid squad, the second one to be formed in the United States in 1928. You can now continue walking over the bridge and take a right when you reach the adjoining sidewalk. Hit the red stop button until you get over the bridge, then hit the green start button. You should be on the sidewalk with the water to your right. As you walk along this section of the lake, you'll hear about some of the trees that grow here, including the pin oak, sassafras, persimmon, and black locust. Note that you won't necessarily walk by each type of tree as we discuss it. The pin oak takes its name from the many pin-like or short spur-formed branchlets on the main branches. It has bristle-tipped lobes on the leaves, reddish-brown winter twigs, and a mast-like trunk that grows right up through the tree without many heavy horizontal branches. As said by Donald Petey in his book, A Natural History of Trees, the light of Indian summer passing through its foliage is like the shaft that gleams through a ruby or garnet. So glorious are the pin oak autumn colors that one is tempted to take a bough home. But when in the house, one wonders what one saw in them, for their glory has departed, as it was the leaves in combination with the generous wealth of American sunlight that captured the eye, and the rustle of their stiffened leaves that caught the ear. So it seems the trees are best enjoyed by standing beside them and experiencing their beauty. Remember to stop walking if you reach the beginning of the next footbridge ahead. The sassafras has root oil, which has medicinal uses and can be recognized by its leaves, which take on 3 shapes on the same tree: unlobed like an egg, 3-lobed with a longer middle one like a glove, and 2-lobed that look like right or left-hand mittens. In summer, the sassafras takes on a spicy, aromatic odor, and in the winter its twigs are lustrous yellowish green. Sassafras was exported by Captain John Smith, and as late as 1610, England still demanded it from Virginia as a condition of keeping its colonial charter, because people thought that sassafras oil could cure ailments. The persimmon is identified by its thick brown or gray bark, which is divided into innumerable square plates like a primitive reptilian hide. The persimmon fruit is not ripe until it is wrinkled and unappetizing in appearance, and so mushy you'll need a handy wipe after eating it. If eaten before it's ripe, it will be an unforgettable experience, and it may take a day to get the puckery taste from your mouth. During the Civil War, Confederate soldiers boiled the seeds as a substitute for coffee. The Lenni Lenape called it Pasiminan, but its geological history goes back before the Native Americans to over 55 million years in North America. Remember to stop and wait at the bridge. Another tree in the park is the black locust, with clusters of fragrant white flowers in the spring and bean-like pods in the fall. It has compounded leaves made up of many small leaflets. The mature tree has thick gray bark with deep fissures dividing it into long vertical ridges, which easily distinguish it from other trees. You should be approaching the bridge. If not, hit the red stop button until you get there. Then hit the green start button when you arrive.
Before you go over the wooden bridge, look back across the street at the church, which had its cornerstone laid in 1887 on 2 donated lots and was named St. Andrew's Methodist Episcopal Church of Spring Lake Beach. It was completed on August 28, 1888, and the trustees handed over the church free of debt. You can see the square bell tower over the doors on the left side of the building. No one knows exactly when the tower was added. They only know it wasn't there in a picture postcard dated 1911, and it's there now. The Borough Hall, which is to the right of the church at the end of the block, and can't be seen from here, contains the Historical Society. Here are a few words from a member.
Hi, I'm Dorothy from the Spring Lake Historical Society's museum, which, like our town itself, is one of the hidden treasures of the Jersey Shore. We are located on the top floor of the Borough Hall at the corner of Warren and Fifth Avenues, which was built in 1897 as the town's first public school. It served for 30 years as the Masonic meeting room. We invite you to visit the museum. If you call 449-0772, you'll hear the hours we are open. Our museum depicts the history of our town from the Native American beginnings up to the present time. It includes stories and pictures of our town's people and events, including the 1934 sinking of the Morro Castle ship and the 1975 tear down of the Monmouth Hotel.
Just past the Borough Hall is Potter Park, named after W.H. Potter, who served as mayor for a short time and died in office. It contains Constitution Gazebo, named in honor of the 200th anniversary of our Constitution in 1987, and was built using generous donations from townspeople, friends, and the business community. You can now turn around and walk over the bridge. If it's summer, notice the lily pads growing on the lake, not unlike something that inspired a beautiful Monet painting, and also look for the persimmon tree to the right just at the end of the bridge. Remember, its bark looks like the skin of a crocodile. Continue over the bridge and keep going straight on the sidewalk until you reach the road. You will then take a right along Passaic Avenue toward the commercial district of town. Hit the red stop button until you reach the road, then hit the green start button when you are ready to continue. Remember to take a right at the road. You should now be walking on the Passaic Avenue sidewalk with the park on your right. You'll see a row of trees on your left across the street. The first 4 are oaks, and the next group are sycamores. Sycamores were frequently planted as city trees 50 or 60 years ago because of their shade and resistance to pollutants, and many Spring Lake streets are lined with them. They are easy to spot because of the patchy bark on the trunk that flakes off as the tree grows, revealing greenish yellow contrasting patches. The leaves turn dull yellow or brown in the fall and are no match for the colorful beauty of the oak or maple. The tree gets most of its beauty, however, from its massive size and multiple branching limbs that fill out its crown. Many of us don't realize that they are the largest deciduous hardwood in North America, because the really large ones that grew in the Midwest have all been cut down. The trunk gets hollow as the tree gets very old, and, believe it or not, entire pioneer families took shelter inside the split trunks of hospitable sycamore trees while they were building their cabins. John Audubon once said he saw a continuous black stream of swallows flying out of a hole in a sycamore, and he estimated it took half an hour to empty the tree of them. Today, its wood is still used for butcher blocks, as it can be endlessly hacked without splitting. If you get to the intersection ahead with the large flagpole on your right, just pause there and listen to the rest of this section of the tape. Now, here is some information on two historic figures in town. Oliver Huff Brown, or O.H. Brown, was someone who exerted a great deal of influence in early Spring Lake. Except for about a year, he served as mayor from 1903 until his death in 1924. He was also a state senator, banker, real estate investor, and philanthropist. He donated some of his land, moved the houses on it to other lots, and built an English Tudor-style community house in honor of World War I veterans, which he then donated to the town in 1923. He and other town members created a trust fund to support it. The community house contains a 400-seat theater, a beautiful library with a small second-floor balcony, and meeting rooms. It is available to any resident with a suitable purpose. O.H. Brown was born in 1852, and when he was 30, opened a home furnishing store on the corner of 3rd and Jersey Avenues. He also served as president of the First National Bank, was a principal investor in the famous Essex and Sussex Hotel, and supplied some of the furniture for the lobby from his store. Remember to stop at the flagpole ahead. The first mayor of Spring Lake was Edward V. Patterson, who also served as station master in the first railroad depot. Here is a story of that first election in 1892. Edward Patterson campaigned to make the private water company a public utility because of the increasing demand for water in the growing community. Until then, the water company was privately held by two of the voters in town. Of the 29 votes cast, Edward received 27. Now which 2 votes do you think he didn't get? By the way, the water company was made into a public utility. There are many others who made contributions to the town and live on in the legacies they left behind. You should be approaching the flagpole, so now cross the street to your left at the first crosswalk and enter the commercial district of town, which is 3rd Avenue. If you are not there yet, hit the red stop button and then hit the green start button when you are ready to cross.
You should now be heading north away from the lake on the left side of 3rd Avenue, the commercial district of town. Continue walking as you listen, but stop when you reach the Centennial Clock, which is on the median in the center of the next intersection. Be careful crossing the streets, as there are no traffic lights here, or for that matter, anywhere in town. This commercial area was established in 1881, and the street was dirt until 1920. All the dirt roads in town were periodically sprayed with a water wagon to keep down the dust. This area used to be part of the Brightons, one of the 4 beach communities that merged to form Spring Lake, and was smaller than the other commercial district on 1st Avenue in Spring Lake Beach. The raging fire of 1900 engulfed the other area of stores, and after the destruction, many of those merchants decided to rebuild here or join others in this area. Thus it became the sole business district. Most stores closed in the off-season after the summer crowd left, which evoked the phrase from Dr. Robert Patterson, "It was 3 months scurry and 9 months worry." Don't forget to stop at the clock ahead. The brick ALU building across the street at the start of the block you just walked down replaced the Osborne Livery Stable in 1920. The stable had been there since 1876 to provide space for horses, some of which were rented to summer visitors. The new building was known for the Colonial Tea Room, which had outdoor seating so diners could view the beautiful Divine Park around the lake. Remember to pause at the cast iron clock, which was built in 1992 in celebration of the 100th birthday of Spring Lakes Incorporation. The funds for the clock were donated by residents and local businesses, and below it, under the plaque, is a time capsule set to be opened in 2042. It contains a video of the town and pictures drawn by the school children. The white building on the corner across the street contained a theater, a shaving parlor, and the upstairs had a ballroom. The west side of the block that you just walked down includes the old First National Bank, organized in 1901 with $25,000 capital, and of which O.H. Brown was president. When the bank went under during the Depression, they opened the safe deposit boxes trying to recover some of the collateral from failed loans. In the box that belonged to the owner of the Sand and Gravel Company, they found it was filled with, you guessed it, sand. It's kind of ironic because sand was his fortune, as he later sold his business for millions. The second floor of the bank building was always office space, and for a time was used by the phone company, which only hired right-handed women because of the equipment set up for them. Southpaws need not apply. At the beginning of the block was the E.V. Patterson Real Estate and Insurance Company. You can now begin walking in the same direction you were heading and continue listening. Stop walking if you reach the intersection at the next block. That's 3rd and Jersey Avenue. The east side of the street, across from you, contained the Burke Brothers drugstore, run by the Burke triplets, who, it is said, kept secretly changing places in a long road race to outrun their challenger, who thought he was racing one of them. There was also Dale's Coffee Shop, which placed wacky ads in the Spring Lake Gazette like, "We cheat you less than the others. Eat at Dale's." He would deliver to the hotel guests if they called in their orders. Casa Grande's Market would let you order holiday meat, cook it for you using Dale's ovens, and deliver it. This side of the block originally contained H.P. Brown's Boarding and Livery, whose coaches met all the trains to take guests to the Essex and Sussex Hotel on Ocean Avenue. Don't forget to stop walking at the next intersection and continue listening. When autos became popular after 1900, the Brown's livery became a garage, then a limousine service. Since cars couldn't park on the street at night, which they still can't, by the way, hotel guests would leave keys at the desk and drivers would come over and drive the cars to the garage and return them the next morning for $2 a night. The garage packed the cars in so tightly that the drivers had to use the windows to crawl in and out. You should now be approaching the corner of 3rd and Jersey Avenue. If not, hit the red stop button on your tape player until you get there. Then hit the green start button. Take a right to cross 3rd Avenue and walk down Jersey Avenue toward the ocean. If you would like to go into any stores, just hit the red stop button, shop till you almost drop, then return here to this exact spot and hit the green start button to continue the tour. You should now be heading east toward the ocean, on the right side of Jersey Avenue. Continue straight for the next 3 blocks to Ocean Avenue. This section of the tour will cover the main summer residential area, which stretched from here to the water. It contains many beautiful homes, hotels, and bed and breakfast inns. The closing of the National Centennial Exposition in Philadelphia in October 1876 provided the opportunity for enterprising individuals to purchase lumber, move it by rail and canal to Spring Lake, and reuse it for homes. The Missouri State Building from that centennial was disassembled, moved to Spring Lake, and re-erected and now stands at 411 Ocean Road near Wreck Pond. History indicates that many of the homes and inns in this area were moved to better sites after being built, some of them more than once. It apparently made sense to move a well-built house made from wood that was purchased at a good price rather than build a new one, especially since labor was cheap at that time. On your right, after you cross the first intersection, you will see an entire block surrounded by a wrought iron fence. This block contained the summer residence of Martin Maloney, which was built in 1899 and was called Ballingarry after his family's home in Ireland. The house was inspired by James Hobin's prototype of the White House, but was torn down in 1955. The deed called for the preservation of some of the landscape features, including a fountain, which is out of view, some brick walls and arches you can see, and the fence around the entire block. Maloney was the oldest of 9 sons and joined his parents in America at age 6. He started out working in the coal mines and used his intelligence and perseverance to end up as one of the leading figures in the United States utility field. Martin Maloney died in 1929 at age 81 and left St. Catherine's Church as a legacy in memory of his daughter. Here is a quote from Elaine Erb's poem, Real Estate Ad, that contrasts 1892 and 1992 real estate prices. 1892. 1 square block of Spring Lake land, which overlooks the sea. Landscaped lawns and flower beds beneath each shady tree. Large home with porch that wraps around, caretaker's cottage too. Hand-fashioned shutters, roof of slate, everything's brand new. A home for those who want the best is this estate so gracious. Elegant, inviting, a residence most spacious. Offered by the owner is this lovely Spring Lake Manor, an example of the finest in late Victoriana. Price, $9,000. 1992. No blossoms in the flower beds. Weeds overrun the lawn. The paint is chipped all round the porch. Caretaker's cottage gone. Loose shutters bang against the house with a sound forlorn. The shattered leaded windows bare. Lace curtains drooped and torn. Offered as a bargain to settle an estate. Prestigious property, attractive mortgage rate. Time and sweat and money could a restoration make. A special for the handyman on oceanfront Spring Lake. Price, $850,000. If you haven't noticed, the street names in Spring Lake are actually not called streets, but almost all are avenues, and many are named after New Jersey counties such as Monmouth, Essex, and Mercer. Others are named for famous early settlers like Ludlow, the keeper of the 1880s life-saving station, and Tuttle, one of the founders. If you reach the end of the street at Ocean Avenue, stop walking and just listen. If you notice it is hard to walk and your feet are wet, you've wandered into the Atlantic Ocean. The last block on the right contains a beach and a tennis club. The original was built by the casino company and destroyed in 1944, but it was rebuilt the next year. It is a private club providing swimming and tennis and has a tunnel to the beach so members don't have to cross Ocean Avenue. The beach is enhanced by a 2-mile non-commercial boardwalk that has a pavilion at each end. The pavilions were constructed in the late 1920s to replace earlier wooden ones, and each contains a snack bar, restrooms, and a seawater swimming pool open to residents and guests. The pools are drained each day and filled anew with icy water pumped directly from the bottom of the ocean. Remember to stop when you reach the end of the sidewalk at Ocean Avenue. There are also bathhouses in the pavilions used to hold beach items, and the outer walls are adorned with terracotta decorative tiles depicting things that remind us of the sea. As of this taping, the Historical Society is in the process of replicating the tiles so the images will not be lost as the current ones are eroding. It's worth a visit to see them later, as they are unique and beautiful. At the end of Jersey Avenue, you will turn right on Ocean Avenue as you pass the beach and tennis club. If you are not there, hit the red stop button, then hit the green start button when you arrive.
You should now be walking on the sidewalk on Ocean Avenue with the water to your left. Before we get too far from this intersection, look toward the ocean and you'll see some bushes in the sand dune between the road and the boardwalk that we'll discuss later. My name is Trish, and I'll guide you through this section of the tour where we'll talk about sand dunes and shore plants that grace Spring Lake's beautiful beaches. Often people are so accustomed to local plants, they don't take time to notice them. So relax as you listen to the following descriptions. Off to your left across Ocean Avenue, you'll see the backside of the sand dune that extends the entire 2 miles of town along the boardwalk. Its width varies from a few feet to 50 to 60 feet. The natural dune is very important, especially for the people living directly on Ocean Avenue, as it acts as a barrier for both water and wind. In its natural state, the primary dune, or the one closest to the water, will grow in height as it collects wind-blown sand, and a hollow, called the secondary dune community, will form behind it. Behind the secondary dune, shrubs like the ones I pointed out a minute ago grow in the thicket community. The Spring Lake dune is too narrow to allow this natural effect, but there are examples of some thicket plants growing in various parts of it. Before this area was developed with homes, many of these types of plants grew where we are now walking. On some areas of the Spring Lake dune, although they may not be visible from here, are two common plants from the secondary dune and thicket communities, the salt spray rose and common bayberry. Also called the rugosa rose from its scientific name, this wild rose displays beautiful white or magenta flowers through the late spring and summer seasons. After the flowers fade, large seed pods called rose hips, which resemble cherry tomatoes, provide food for wildlife. They are also an excellent source of vitamin C. Rugosa roses are now sold commercially and can be seen in many people's yards. Growing to a maximum height of about 15 feet, common bayberry, like other shore plants, is naturally pruned by the salt spray, which dries out its upper leaves. After they fall off, the top branches will eventually be broken off by strong winter winds, resulting in a pruned appearance. All seaside plants have had to develop ways to protect themselves from the ever-present salt spray. Bayberry has a waxy covering on its leaves and fruit, while the others, like the grasses, have leaves with small surface areas to prevent evaporation. These and other similar tactics are also used by some desert plants. Common bayberry was once known medicinally as the all-American fever treatment, though it is best known as a source of wax for bayberry candles. Nowadays, bayberry candles are artificially colored and scented, as it takes 5 gallons of berries to make one candle. It's easy to identify common bayberry in the fall by its clusters of small, silvery gray berries. If you reach the massive hotel building with large columns on your right, don't walk past it. Just stay there and finish listening to this part of the tape. The most important plant on the dunes is American beach grass, which both holds the sand in place with its elaborate root system and traps wind-blown sand to build the dune up. It can be seen along most of the 2-mile dune in town and grows to about 2 feet in height. The beach grass is remarkable in that it can stand being totally submerged in salt water, and if covered over by blown sand, will still sprout through and continue growing the next season. Even though it can tolerate such extreme natural conditions, however, simple human footprints can expose the roots and cause the plants to die. So as much as we would like to roll in the dunes with the kids, the remaining ones must be protected by staying off of them. Many shore communities have volunteer groups that transplant beach grass, and in Spring Lake the Boy Scouts have done this. After the grass takes hold, it sprouts new plants from runners and also reproduces by seed. So in the fall you can see wheat-colored seed-bearing tassels nodding in the breeze. You should be getting near the beach house on your right, just before Mercer Avenue. Take note of the sign out front. Look on its roof and you can see lovely terracotta griffins and other figures adorning it. Griffins are figures from Greek mythology with the head and wings of an eagle and the body of a lion who guarded stashes of gold. The house was built originally in the 1890s as a private residence for a Philadelphia poet, Algernon Sidney Logan, and later became part of the Warren Hotel, which is the large white, stuccoed and half-timbered building that takes up the block to the right behind the beach house. It is the largest functioning hotel in Spring Lake, which features a full-length veranda and a 2-story portico with colossal columns marking the entrance. Remember, if you reach the hotel with large columns on the porch just after Sussex Avenue, wait there and continue listening. Another common plant of the secondary dunes is seaside goldenrod. In the spring, you may only see a small circle of new leaves surrounding last year's dead flower stalks. These small leaves and new flower stalks will grow considerably larger, some as high as 6 feet in protected areas. The showy golden flowers of the seaside goldenrod will last well into the fall, making them a primary food source for fall migrating monarch butterflies on their long journey to Mexico. If you enjoy hearing about the sand dunes and other shore-related topics, you can get the Boardwalk and Beach audio tour, which describes the natural environment in more detail. It is available from the same place that you got this tape. You should be approaching a large building on your right after you cross Sussex Avenue. This was the old Essex and Sussex Hotel. If you are not there yet, hit the red stop button on the tape player. Then hit the green start button when you get there.
This completes the loop tour. You can walk back in the direction you just came from to the first street, that's Sussex Avenue. Cross Sussex and take a left. Then walk a little over 1 block back to your starting point at the inn, which you'll see on your right. Hit the red stop button until you are outside the inn, then hit the green start button for some final words. This completes your tour. I hope you enjoyed hearing about this charming oceanside town. Just leave this tape running as it will reach the end and turn itself off automatically. Please return the tape player to your innkeeper. Thank you.